Well, I do believe I see I see a confidence. I don't hear a confidence. You know, I don't, and I don't know how to explain it, but he doesn't have to tell me he's confident. You can just feel it. He understands the concepts that you talk about. He shakes his head. Yes, I feel it. I good. He goes out and represents it on the field.
Hi everybody, welcome to the Matchup Show presented by POWERHOME Solar. I'm Missi Matthews. That was Steelers offensive coordinator Randy Fichtner this morning speaking about Mason Rudolph, who is getting the start against the Cleveland Browns on Sunday, Week 17 finale of the regular season. Let me introduce you to our panel today. Bob Labriola of Steelers.com and Steelers Digest, still festive as always in the background there. Labs Arthur Moats, former Steelers outside linebacker and Hall of Famer from JMU. And Matt Williamson, kind enough to join us from Steelers Nation Radio. Happy New Year's Eve to everybody. In terms of this game, I want to know how important you think it is for the Steelers to get a win. They are obviously sitting Ben Roethlisberger, as Coach Tomlin said, airmailing him to the postseason. So, Labs, does it matter what the outcome is in Cleveland on Sunday?
Not really. I'm looking for a competitive performance by the Steelers. I think that if they go there, compete, look reasonably good in all phases of the game, make it difficult for the Browns to win. I think that that's sufficient. Winning the game really doesn't mean a whole lot, I don't think.
Okay, Arthur, the worst the Steelers can finish in terms of the AFC is a 3 seed. The Browns, though, need this game. How important do you think this is for the Steelers?
I don't necessarily think the 3 seed is that important, but what I will say, this is a very important game for Mason Rudolph along with Randy Fichtner. This is going to be an opportunity for both of them to show what they can do. For Mason, he gets the chance to show that he can be the guy going forward as either the successor to Ben or as a very competent backup. And then for Randy, this gets a chance to show that, hey, he can call plays without having 7 out there and ultimately put Mason in the best position to be successful. So I think for those two guys, it's a big game. But as it pertains to the Steelers in the 3 seed, I don't think that matters that much.
Okay, Matt, what's your take on the importance of this game for the Steelers, knowing they already have a playoff berth and they won the North, so wild card weekend they will be at home at Heinz Field?
Yeah, I'm not concerned with a win or a loss. I'm not concerned with the final score. I'm mildly at all concerned about 2 versus 3 seed, but I'm extremely concerned and interested about all the individual tape these players put out there. There's a lot of opportunity, much like a preseason week 3 game, or even more so, obviously. I mean, you got to block Myles Garrett. You got to get away from Denzel Ward. You got to chase, this front, all the Browns that are doing their best. So especially for Mason Rudolph, I want to watch the individual tape of these players.
For Mason Rudolph, guys, there was no preseason, so we didn't have a chance to see him in that former fashion. His last start was week 12 of last year. That was the game in Cincinnati. He ended up getting benched in the 3rd quarter. Devlin Hodges came in. Steelers ended up winning that game. So, Labs, is this an audition, or what would you call this for Mason on Sunday?
Well, I don't necessarily think it's do or die, but it is a very, very important game for him. And the reason that it is like everything else, the NFL is motivated by economics, and Mason Rudolph is getting towards the end of his rookie contract. And so the Steelers are going to have to make a decision soon on him. Do they want to continue to do business with him as a quarterback in the NFL, whether even as a backup? That is, I won't say it's big money, but it's a lot more significant money than he's making right now. Or do they want to look elsewhere for someone to fill that role? And so, Mason Rudolph, I think he needs to perform, at least show that he is capable of physically handling the responsibilities of the position. And the other thing I think is important for him to show, can he be that on-field leader, that on-field field general that the Steelers have come to expect / demand from their quarterbacks. And so I think this is an important game for him.
Arthur, you also mentioned Randy in terms of what this does for him with no Ben Roethlisberger and Mason Rudolph starting. How would you characterize what this means, though, for Mason?
Yeah, for Mason, like I said, Bob hit on it perfectly. The rookie contract man, that's coming to an end. So you have to show your worth. You have to prove that you are worth a second contract. Now, granted, the numbers aren't going to be record breaking, but it's still going to be a substantial increase in pay. So for Mason, he has to understand that, along with the human nature element of it, right? In terms of, he remembers what happened the last time he played against the Browns. It wasn't his best performance on the field and everything that transpired afterwards. So he's going to get an opportunity to essentially knock them out the playoffs with a really good performance if he can lead his team to victory. So it's a lot at stake for Mason, both in the short term and in the long term.
Matt, to go along with what Arthur said, they lost a number of players in that game prior to the Myles Garrett incident. So for Mason, how does he rebound from that, basically going back to the scene of the crime?
Yeah, that Thursday night game on a short week, I don't know that any quarterback would have succeeded, to be very honest. That was really difficult conditions. And if you remember, in the fourth quarter, he's telling receivers that I'd never heard of where to line up, and the running backs couldn't pick up a blitz, and there was a lot going against him in that game. The one thing we didn't mention, though, and there was a lot of things last year that were obviously heartbreaking, but one of the things that down the list for me was when he came into that Jets game very late in the year, I thought he looked tremendous, and him not getting to finish that game is high on my list for things that were heartbreaking for me last year. And who knows? I mean, who knows what he's going to look like this Sunday? Who knows how he would have finished that Jets game? But the last time we saw him, he played very well.
Okay, guys, we're going to take a quick break here on the Matchup Show. When we return, the Steelers have elected their team MVP for 2020, and we will decide who they would start or sit in Cleveland if they were Coach Tomlin. We'll be right back.
It's the people that see me on a regular basis, see the work that I put in, not only on the field but off the field, and just really grateful that the guys thought enough of me to vote me team MVP. But it is a team award, and more importantly, we're all here, and I'm here to win a Super Bowl.
That was TJ Watt following Thursday's practice. He has been named the 2020 team MVP, voted on by his teammates, and also a back-to-back winner. The first time a Steelers player has gone back-to-back since James Harrison did it in 2007. In 2008, you heard from TJ there, Labs, in terms of, it's voted on by your teammates, so I think it does mean a little bit more to these guys as well. But we are going to play the game of who do you not want to see playing in Cleveland? You would like them in sweatpants along with Ben Roethlisberger, and who do you think maybe needs some reps? So, Labs, we'll start with you. Is number 90 TJ Watt on your list?
Yeah, I mean, assuming we're going to go with the normal 6 inactives, and assuming everyone is healthy. Okay, here are my 6. Ben, Marquise Pouncey, Cam Hayward, Stephon Tuitt, TJ Watt, and Joe Hayden. And one of the key categories that I'm looking at and picking these guys, with the exception of TJ Watt, is their birth certificate. Older guys, I'm going to give them a little bit more consideration in terms of not, playing at all. Some of the other people that I would make sure we're not stressed at all, and I'm going to start with this guy, is Chris Boswell. I'm not doing anything with him that's going to stress either that hip or that groin muscle that have caused him to miss a couple of games this week, because I want to go in to the playoffs with my ace kicker, and I want him to be feeling as good physically as is possible. I wouldn't Minka Fitzpatrick wouldn't play much at all. David DeCastro wouldn't play much at all. You get, and it can't be like a preseason game, though. I mean, I would like to continue to name guys, but you only have 48 guys in a helmet, and one of them is going to be a backup quarterback. So that's essentially 2 guys for one spot, and so Mike Tomlin is really kind of hamstrung in terms of what he can do in terms of creating a de facto Week 17 bye for his team.
Arthur, Labs made me think of when Troy Polamalu didn't practice one day in Latrobe for training camp. Coach Tomlin was asked why, and he said, contusion of the birth certificate. Are you agreeing with Labs in terms of his inactives, or what would you do if you were Coach Tomlin in this situation?
So me and Labs are very similar. I think the biggest difference we had, I'm not resting Tuitt right away. I'm resting Minkah over Tuitt. I think Minkah is more significant to the defense, especially in the secondary. Whereas with Tuitt, I'm very confident in the other guys that are up front. If Tuitt weren't available all the way to us, I still feel like Kent can step up in a big way and still take advantage of that. I feel like Tyson is another guy who can come in and be productive. Whereas if there's no Minkah, that I feel like it's going to be a major drop off on that secondary. So he's the guy for me, definitely gets airmailed. But the other guy that he didn't mention is Vince Williams. And I would want to see him at least for a quarter to a half just to get his lungs back where they need to be. We heard when he talked about when he had COVID, how his lungs felt like he, did some unhealthy activities. I want to see him get that up out of his system completely with just a good quarter or a half of football. So that way come playoff time, he's all systems go, because we know how impactful and important he is to that defense, especially in the run game.
Okay, Matt, who are you airmailing to the playoffs if it is your decision? Of course, we know Ben Roethlisberger's already in the mail. He'll be at Heinz Field next weekend.
Yeah, I really like Labs' list, and obviously age has a lot to do with it. But I think you almost have to classify it two ways. What Bob said is great. Keep all those guys out of pads. They don't play at all. They're in sweatpants. But then there's another group to me that probably doesn't start the game, only if you need them. I mean, James Conner to me is that guy. I want to see McFarland heavily. I might sit Deontay Johnson for the second half or play him very sparingly. Same with DeCastro and Villanueva, assuming you can field 5 legitimate offensive linemen, which isn't easy to do. This is, excuse me, this is a bit of a chore because you got to put 11 guys out there for every special teams unit. You got to, you can't just ask Isaiah Buggs to play every snap, so Minkah wouldn't play unless he was absolutely needed, if people got hurt in front of him. And I think the same is probably true. Hilton, I think I'd play sparingly as well.
Okay, guys, let's very quickly take a look at the AFC standings as we sit here today. Heading into Week 17, the Steelers right now are at the 3 seed. Of course, we know the Kansas City Chiefs will be getting the only bye. The Bills are at 2. And then a number of things have to happen in terms of what happens below the Steelers. For the Browns, as we said, they win, they are in, or a number of other things. And according to NFL research, 5 games this weekend have AFC playoff seeding implications, so 32 possible combinations. And just a quick note, Dolphins' Ryan Fitzpatrick has tested positive for COVID-19, according to the Dolphins. So you each get to pick one team you want to see next weekend here at Heinz Field against the Steelers. Labs, you're first.
The Browns. Definitely the Browns, because the only way they get in is beating the Steelers on Sunday, and they will, if they do that, I'm sure they will celebrate it, like they haven't been in the playoffs, Missy, since you were in grade school.
Thank you, Labs. I was a little bit further along than that, but I will take that. I won't tell you what grade I was in.
I said, man, I didn't know where he was going with that. I was like, tread lightly, tread lightly.
No, but and then, I'm sure the Browns would be doing some talking, doing some celebrating, rubbing it in the Steelers' face a little bit during the game that they won to get into the playoffs. And then, hey, guess what? Next week you got to come to Heinz Field and let's play for real. I'd like to see the Browns.
Okay, Arthur, who are you inviting to Heinz Field if you had that power?
I've invited them before. I'm inviting them again. Miami, 305. Come on down. Yes. Oh, you said Ryan Fitzpatrick, COVID. Listen, I'm sending you a package to help you recover, but I know you will not be there next week. So we're going to get 4 quarters of Tua. No more safety net. No more, Tua, we got Ryan to back you up. I love that opportunity. Now, granted, their defense is really good, but hearing that Ryan Fitzpatrick more than likely would not be available to them, I think that's a huge blow, not only on the field, but also when he is not starting, what he gives to it from just his veteran mindset and what he's able to see. So knowing that he wouldn't be available, man, I love that opportunity. And let's be real, Miami doesn't want to play in January in Pittsburgh. We know what that's going to look like. It's perfect weather for us. They would hate it.
It was very cold the last time Miami was here. Arthur, I think you remember Coach Tomlin shutting all the doors and putting air conditioning on inside of the indoor at the UPMC Rooney Sports Complex for practice that week. So not a lot of fun. Okay, Matt, who are you taking if you had the choice to play the Steelers in the wild card round?
Yeah, it stinks to go third because those are my two choices too. So
well, you can agree. It's okay.
I have respect for Miami's defense. I think they're an extremely well-coached team, but their offense has little explosion to it, and they're very reliant on special teams, hidden yardage, things like that I don't think the Steelers are going to fall into that trap. And to expand on what Labs was saying, I just think the Steelers kind of own the Browns. I mean, there's a big brother factor there. Maybe we won't see it on Sunday, but if it was here the following Sunday, man, I don't trust Baker Mayfield to pull that out at all against a real pass rush. No way.
Since you mentioned the Browns, I'll throw out my fun fact. The Browns have lost 12 straight games against the Steelers that were played in the final game of the season. Longest such streak in NFL history. Okay, guys, time for a break. Matt gets to go first when we give our keys to the games. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Matchup Show presented by POWERHOME Solar. It is time for our keys to the game presented by your neighborhood Ford store. As promised, Matt, you get to go first this time, so take all the low-hanging fruit that you want. What is your key to this Week 17 matchup on Sunday?
Yeah, I'm going to pluck the low-hanging fruit and just say I want Mason Rudolph to look like he belongs. I mean, he doesn't have to throw for 300 yards. I don't care what his stat line is at the end of the day. I want to see command of the offense. I want to see the other 10 people on the field responding to him, audibling in and out, knowing where to go with the football. He should be very comfortable in this offense now. I expect to see that on Sunday.
Okay, Arthur, we'll keep you in the middle. Go ahead.
There we go. So for me, man, I'm going to the defense. I'm talking Avery Williamson versus Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. Avery, man, he's coming off his best performance as a Steeler, not only in the run game, but also in his pass defense and pass rushing. I think that this is a game where he has to be great in terms of his open field tackling and not allowing a lot of yards after contact. If Avery does that, it makes that Browns offense one-dimensional, and then we can have this defense play the way we like to see them play.
Okay, Labs, I'm going to be mad if you don't pick the low-hanging fruit that's still there for you. What is your key to the game on Sunday?
I used this phrase before. I'm going to use it again. Make them work for it. The outcome of this game to me is not that significant. As I mentioned, based on who I want the Steelers to play in the first round, I'm kind of looking forward to maybe the Browns winning the game. But I also want them to know that they were in a tough physical battle so that their confidence does not get out of control, and they understand what's likely to happen to them when they have to come to Heinz Field in the playoffs.
Okay, producer Gerard is telling me we have to say, knock on wood, stay healthy for everybody who is not in sweats in Cleveland on Sunday for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Thank you, Arthur. All right.
If it doesn't happen, you're the one who jinxed it.
Producer Gerard, I'll give everybody a cell phone number. You can tweet me for it. All right, thanks everybody for joining us here today on the Matchup Show. That is going to do it for us. Steelers and Browns Week 17 in Cleveland. 1 o'clock kickoff. We will recap that and get ready for the playoffs next week. We hope to see you then. Happy New Year's, everyone.
What's up, Steelers Nation? It's TJ Watt. Welcome to the Pittsburgh Steelers official YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe to our channel to stay up to date on everything going on in the Steel City. Thank you for being the best fans in football. Here we go.